Welcome, quiet listener, to a journey across the ancient seas and through the mist-shrouded lands of the north. As the day's concerns begin to drift away, we invite you to settle into the rhythmic cadence of history. As we gently peel back the layers of romanticized legends surrounding the people we call Vikings, beyond the popular images of horned helmets and fierce warriors, lay complex societies, challenging daily lives, and journeys of remarkable endurance. Tonight, we will explore the often brutal realities of Viking existence, casting a quiet light on the arduous life of a raider. We will then follow the epic, yet largely forgotten, voyage of an explorer who ventured far to the east. Before delving into the mysterious world of their runic inscriptions, finally, we will step into the heart of Viking power, examining the surprising intricacies of their social hierarchy and the lives within the Jarl's Hall. Breathe deeply, relax your mind, and prepare to drift into the quiet, powerful depths of the Viking Age. Imagine, for a moment, a world where the vast, unforgiving sea was both your highway and your greatest challenge. We are stepping back in time into the creaking timbers of a Viking to truly understand the relentless realities faced by those who embarked on the famed raids. A Viking raider was to embrace a life of extraordinary hardship, raw courage, and constant peril. A life far removed from any modern comfort. Your existence, were you to join a raiding party, would be defined first and foremost by the longship itself. Imagine this vessel, sleek and open to the elements, propelled by the rhythmic pull of oars and the power of a single square sail. There were no cabins, no sheltered berths, only the open deck. Q would live, eat, and sleep, exposed to the raw fury of the North Sea or the biting winds of the Baltic. Space would be cramped, with men huddled together for warmth. Their personal belongings reduced to what could fit in a small bag. The constant motion of the waves, the spray whipping across the deck, and the bone-chilling cold would be your perpetual companions. Endurance was not a virtue. It was a fundamental requirement for survival. As the longship approached a coastline, the purpose of your arduous journey would become brutally clear. The raid itself, imagine the sudden, terrifying shift from the quiet rhythm of the waves to the adrenaline-fueled chaos of an attack. Viking raids were characterized by their swiftness and ferocity, designed to overwhelm and instill fear. The sounds would be sharp and jarring. The splash of oars, the shouts of men, the initial screams of alarm from the unsuspecting settlement. Lives were brutally cut short, and property was seized with ruthless efficiency. For the raider, it was a test of courage and skill, but also a deeply unsettling experience, fraught with the constant threat of injury, death, or capture. The psychological toll of inflicting such violence and witnessing its consequences would be immense. leaving a different kind of scar than those sustained in physical combat. Seasonal nature of raiding meant that much of the year was spent enduring the harsh Scandinavian winters. Imagine the long, dark months, when the seas turned treacherous and the land lay frozen under a blanket of snow. Good. Food, often acquired during the raiding season or through arduous hunting and fishing, had to be carefully managed. Famine was a constant threat, and disease, exacerbated by poor nutrition and close living quarters, could sweep through a community with devastating speed. The biting cold, the struggle to keep warm, and the ever-present threat of starvation made winter a time of quiet, desperate endurance, a stark contrast to the explosive energy of the summer raids. And then, if you survived the raid and the harsh winter, came the aftermath. Imagine the return home, laden with plunder, silver, slaves, livestock, exotic goods. This was a moment of triumph, yet it also brought its own set of challenges. The distribution of loot could lead to internal feuds and simmering resentments within the community or between rival the experience of battle, the loss of comrades. Good. And the acts committed during the raid would leave lasting emotional and physical marks. Scars, both visible and invisible, would serve as constant reminders of the brutal life you led. The Viking raiders' existence was not merely about adventure and plunder. Again, it was a relentless cycle of hardship, violence, and profound uncertainty. A daily negotiation with the limits of human endurance, where survival was never guaranteed, and peace was always a fleeting commodity. From the immediate, visceral realities of Viking raiding, we gently shift our focus to a different kind of Viking endeavor, one of exploration and ambition, stretching far beyond the familiar shores of the North Sea. We turn our attention to the epic, yet often forgotten, journey of a man known as the Far-Traveled, whose daring expedition to the Caspian Sea and beyond left a poignant trail of runic inscriptions across his homeland. His story speaks to the broader Viking spirit of curiosity and the relentless pursuit of new horizons, Gavin, in the face of insurmountable odds. The lure of the East for the Vikings was a powerful one, driven not by the quick plunder of coastal raids, but by the promise of immense wealth through trade. Imagine the reports filtering back to Scandinavia. Tales of vast rivers flowing into distant richlands, brimming with silks, spices, and silver from the Islamic caliphates. It was this tantalizing prospect that ignited the ambition of born into a powerful Swedish family. Likely in the early 11th century, Ingvar envisioned a new trade route, one that would bypass the traditional Viking river routes through Kiev and Rus, and open direct access to the lucrative markets of the Caspian region, a place often referred to as. His goal was not mere raiding, but the establishment of enduring trade connections, securing wealth and prestige for himself and his followers. The journey began around 1036 to 1041 CE, from what is now Sweden. Imagine the preparations, the gathering of men, the provisioning of longships, likely smaller, river-friendly vessels designed for inland navigation rather than open ocean crossings. The initial leg of their journey would have involved traversing the complex river systems of Eastern Europe, pushing their way through dense forests and across vast plains. Hear the rhythmic dipping of oars, the rustle of leaves along the riverbanks, the sounds of men working in unison. This was a perilous passage, involving portages where ships had to be dragged over land between river systems. and encounters, both peaceful and hostile, with the diverse local tribes and peoples inhabiting these territories. Colleges of navigation, logistics, and intercultural relations would have been immense, requiring both strength and diplomatic skill. Ingvar and his expedition, a substantial force of men, eventually reached the Caspian Sea, a remarkable feat of navigation and endurance. They explored its shores and rivers, reaching as far south as what is now modern-day Azerbaijan. Imagine the sheer wonder of these Norsemen encountering a landscape so utterly different from their homeland. Arid plains, new peoples, and the architectural styles of thriving Islamic cities. For a time, they may have engaged in trade, perhaps even in military service for local rulers. However, the fortunes of the expedition took a devastating turn during their time in Circland. A severe illness, likely a virulent disease to which they had no immunity, swept through their ranks. Could imagine the devastating effect. Strong men weakened by fever. Could their numbers dwindling rapidly. Far from home and without hope of succor. Could the disease claimed the lives of most of Ingvar's men, including Ingvar himself. The tragic fate of Ingvar's expedition would likely have faded into the mists of time, had it not been for a unique and poignant historical record. The rune stones of remembrance could. In the years following the expedition, across central Sweden, over 25 runic inscriptions were carved by the families and communities of the men who had perished with Ingvar. Imagine these stoic stone monuments raised in quiet remembrance. Could their intricate carvings telling a collective story of loss and distant adventure? These stones list the names of those who died in Circland or to the east with Ingvar. They are more than mere tangible memorials to a forgotten expedition. Offering a rare and deeply personal glimpse into the human cost of Viking exploration. These silent stones, standing in fields and by ancient roads, whisper the tale of Ingvar the Fart Traveler, a reminder of ambition that reached too far, God, and a journey that became a testament to both human daring and inevitable mortality. Could, from the epic yet tragic journey of Ingvar the Fart Traveler, and the poignant rune stones that silently mark its memory, we now gently delve deeper into the very language of the Vikings. We will explore the enigmatic world of runic inscriptions, a system of writing that was far more than mere communication. For the Vikings, runes held power, meaning, and perhaps even a connection to the mystical forces of their world. Unlocking their secrets allows us a deeper understanding of their beliefs, their daily lives, and their profound reverence for memory. At the heart of Viking communication lay the Futhark, the runic alphabet. Imagine a set of angular, often straight-lined characters, seemingly simple, yet imbued with deep significance. Unlike the Latin alphabet, which was primarily a phonetic tool. Each rune in the Futhark often carried not only a phonetic value, but also a distinct name and a symbolic meaning. For instance, the Fehu rune might represent the Soundi, but also symbolize wealth or cattle. This dual nature elevated runes. Beyond mere letters, they were seen as carriers of power, wisdom, and magical potential. Their origins are debated, but they likely developed from other alphabets in continental Europe, adapted by Norse peoples for carving into wood and stone. They're sharp, straight lines, perfectly suited for such media. Runic inscriptions are found on a fascinating array of objects, each revealing a different facet of Viking life and belief. Imagine standing before a towering rune stone, like those we discussed in Ingvar's story, erected as a public memorial to the dead, commemorating a brave warrior or a successful journey. Beach stones often proclaim lineage, deeds could, and the circumstances of a person's demise, serving as enduring public records. But runes also appear on more intimate objects. Picture the intricate carvings on a weapon, perhaps a sword or axe, believed to imbue it with strength or ensure victory in battle. Imagine runes etched onto amulets or personal ornaments, worn for protection, good fortune, or even for magical charms. They appear on tools, combs, and even small pieces of wood, suggesting their use in everyday communication, marking ownership, or simple messages. The sheer diversity of these inscriptions hints at the pervasive role runes played in Viking culture, from the monumental to the mundane. This belief in the inherent power of runes gave rise to various theories of runic magic. Imagine a Viking runemaster carving with focused intent, believing that the act of inscription itself could invoke supernatural forces. Runes were deeply connected to Norse mythology, associated with figures like the god Odin, who was said to have discovered them through a... This divine connection lent runes an aura of ancient wisdom and potent magic. They were believed to be used in divination, where runes might be cast or chosen to reveal insights into the future or hidden truths. Protection spells, curses, and blessings could also be inscribed, appealing to the unseen forces of the cosmos. Imagine a desperate sailor carving a rune for safe passage onto his ship's mast, or a healer inscribing protective symbols onto a sick person's bed. While we view this through a modern lens, for the Vikings, beads practices were a tangible link between their earthly existence, and the powerful, often unpredictable, realm of the gods and spirits. However, decoding the runes presents its own set of challenges of interpretation for modern scholars. Imagine the painstaking work of epigraphers poring over weathered stones or corroded metal, to decipher faint lines and understand ancient dialects. The meaning of certain runes, or combinations of runes, can be ambiguous, leading to ongoing debates among experts. Some inscriptions are short and cryptic, offering only tantalizing glimpses of their purpose. Furthermore, our understanding of Viking magic and religious beliefs is incomplete, making it difficult to fully grasp the symbolic and ritualistic context in which some runes were used. Despite these difficulties, the study of runic inscriptions continues to be a vibrant field, slowly but steadily unlocking more of the Viking world. Each newly discovered inscription, each subtle reinterpretation, brings us closer to understanding the voices of a distant past, revealing the layers of meaning embedded in these deceptively simple symbols. Again, enriching our quiet contemplation of their enduring mysteries. From the individual quest for exploration and the intricate symbols of runic magic, we now turn our attention to the pinnacle of Viking society, the Jarl, or chieftain, and the bustling heart of his domain. The Longhouse, often referred to as the Jarl's Hall, This was a world of power and privilege, but also one of complex social rituals. Elaborate feasts, and the constant, often subtle, currents of political intrigue. Stepping into this space offers a contrasting, yet equally illuminating, view of Viking life. The Jarl's authority was multifaceted and deeply ingrained in Viking social structure. Imagine the Jarl as not merely a warrior leader, also a judge, a law speaker, and the central figure of his community. His power stemmed from his lineage, and his ability to command the loyalty of his free retainers. In disputes, he would preside over the thing, the local assembly, dispensing justice based on established laws and customs. In times of war, he would raise the levy, leading his warriors into battle. Jarl embodied the strength and stability of his district, responsible for its defense, prosperity, and the well-being of its people. His decisions, while sometimes influenced by council, held immense weight, shaping the lives of everyone within his domain. The very architecture of the Longhouse reflected its central role as a hub of power. Inside, it would be a vast, open space dominated by a central hearth, providing warmth and light. This was not merely a residence. It was a multifunctional heart of the community. During the day, it might serve as a workshop, a place for crafting and repairs. By night, it transformed into a communal sleeping area for the Jarl's family, his retainers, and guests, with sleeping platforms built along the walls. Crucially, the Longhouse also functioned as a feasting hall and an assembly place. Imagine important decisions being debated around the central fire. Oaths being sworn, and alliances being forged or broken within these very walls. The Longhouse was a tangible manifestation of the Jarl's wealth and influence, a symbol of his ability to host and command. Within this central space, feasts and rituals played a profoundly significant role in Viking society. Imagine the sounds of revelry, the clatter of drinking horns, the deep laughter, the resonant voices of skalds, reciting epic sagas of gods and heroes. Mead and ale, often brewed on site, would flow freely, consumed in quantities that fostered camaraderie and loosened tongues. These feasts were not merely opportunities for indulgence. They were vital social and political events. Days served to reinforce social bonds, to display the Jarl's generosity and wealth, and to cement. Imagine the solemnity of oath-taking ceremonies, where vows of loyalty were exchanged. Often accompanied by the symbolic sharing of a drink from a single horn. Gift-giving was also paramount. A Jarl's generosity towards his followers was a measure of his standing, and the exchange of gifts reinforced mutual obligations. These rituals, whether boisterous feasts or solemn oaths, bound Viking society together, creating a complex web of duties and expectations. Finally, within the Jarl's Hall, the wives of Jarls held surprisingly powerful and influential roles, often defying modern preconceptions of women in medieval societies. Imagine a woman, the mistress of the house, overseeing a vast domestic enterprise, while men engaged in raiding and political maneuvering. It was often the Jarl's wife who managed the household, which could include a large retinue of servants, slaves, and free workers. She controlled the keys to the storerooms, oversaw the production of textiles, food preservation, and the management of farm labor. She was responsible for the family's wealth in her husband's absence, and her economic power was often considerable, particularly through dower rights and inheritance. In some sagas, we find examples of women who even led in their husband's absence, demonstrating their capacity for leadership and decision. influence extended beyond the domestic sphere. They were vital figures in diplomatic marriages and could offer counsel to their husbands on political matters. The life of a Jarl's wife was one of immense responsibility, practical power, and quiet influence, a testament to the strong, independent spirit often found among Viking women, even within a patriarchal society. Conclusion. As the echoes of the Viking Age begin to soften, and the images of Longship's runic carvings and the bustling Jarl's Hall, we hope this journey has offered you a calming glimpse into a fascinating and often misunderstood past. We have plunged into the arduous realities of the Viking raider's life, acknowledging the profound endurance required to brave the cold seas and wield the axe. We then followed the ambitious, yet ultimately tragic, journey of Ingvar, the far-travelled. A reminder of the enduring human impulse for exploration, we peered into the mysterious world of runic inscriptions, uncovering their layers of meaning, from mundane records to powerful magical symbols. And finally, we settled into the heart of Viking power, serving the complex social rituals and surprising influence of women within the Jarl's Hall. Each facet of this ancient culture, from its raw strength to its hidden spiritual depths, forms a richer tapestry of the Viking period, revealing a people far more nuanced than common legend often suggests. As these historical details gently recede, allow the steady cadence of the past to lull you further into tranquility. May the distant whisper of the wind across northern seas, the quiet stories carved in stone, and the murmur of an ancient beast now blend into a soothing melody, guiding you peacefully toward the embrace of deep and restful sleep.